Okay. Hey, review family, keep it high, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. Feels like forever since I did an album discography ranking, a worst to best episode, so let's kick it off with a band that means a lot personally to me. I did a series of polls a while back asking you guys in certain genres what bands you'd like me to cover, and Bell Witch got a lot of votes, so I figured I would talk about them. Consider this a gateway for those of you that don't necessarily know that much about Bell Witch, as well as my recommendations specifically designed for different records that are designed for different people. This is in no way supposed to be like the end-all be-all or the gospel. The main meat and point of this is to get your guys' opinion of Bell Witch as well, what your favorite records are from them. So let's talk about like this guitarless, just freakish funeral doom metal band. Love them to death for years. I think they were one of the first bands that I ever covered on this channel for good reason. Got 5 records to talk about in this video, so let's get right into it. At number 5, I'm going to put Stygian Bough Volume 1. This was a collaboration that Bell Witch did with Aerial Ruin. I reviewed it at length and I had some very critical words to say about it, and it does sound like the weirdest and most different Bell Witch record as a result of the collaboration. You have the folksy nature of it, you have the acoustics, you have the normal singing vocals, intermixed with the usual droning funeral doom metal passages. Okay, so personally, in my opinion, I think on paper, this record was designed to fail, built not to work. These are two projects that are perfectly comfortable existing in their own lane, in their own styles. They make great material. Not too familiar with Aerial Ruin, but I did familiarize myself with the project when this came out. But it's sort of like the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. They were born to clash. I'm not going to say that there aren't any haunting moments on this record. There certainly are. Some of the vocal layering and some of the acoustics are genuinely creepy, eerie. Aerial Ruin's central points work well on this record. Bell Witch's do as well, but together, not so much. Trying out these normally sung vocals on a Bell Witch record, it's pretty cool. It's a unique, different thing that you just don't hear from them at all. I think I'd rather just listen to the instrumentals on their own, because Bell Witch's contributions, typically just gorgeous. What do you expect? Great funeral doom metal, as good as ever, can rival Mirror Reaper in terms of the sound. Some of the songs just strike a deep chord in you, whether you like it or not. I just think as a whole, this project just did not work out as well as this collaboration intended, I think. At number 4, I have their 2011 demo. An interesting point in their discography, a very forgotten point in their discography as of now. It's still very long, even though if it's not long by their standards now, or even just a little bit later. This demo was sort of like Bell Witch in their infancy, before they really finalized their slow, doomy style to the full effect that it was going to be. It's sort of prior to them becoming themselves entirely. The core things are there, but it's just like something's a little bit different. It's like they knew what they wanted to do, but they didn't quite know how to take it in the direction that they wanted it to go in. It's still slow, but if you haven't listened to this, just go listen to it, because it's really funny and kind of interesting how fast it can get compared to later records, and I feel weird saying Bell Witch and fast in the same sentence, because it really isn't that fast in the grand scheme. It just is for Bell Witch. Like everything that was going to come later. And you also get some very shrill, high-pitched, screamed type vocals, which bearing witness to is kind of insane given how dark, low, brooding the vocals were going to get on all the later records. At the core of it though, it's still Bell Witch. Downtrodden, harrowing, but not nearly as bassy and loud and atmospheric. It's Bell Witch just in a baby dosage. The production's more understated compared to what would come later, but within the heart of it, Bell Witch's essentials still remain. And this album is still just fun to look back to as sort of the first section of what would later come of this awesome project, to see where it all began, to hear those ideas in their infancy, quite literally. Hearing the sappiness, the sadness, the lowliness, hearing the sad tones that would later flourish into an unimaginable wall of noise. It's just a cool part in their catalog to look back at, even if it pales in comparison. At number 3, and this might come as a surprise, I have Four Phantoms. Four Phantoms is such a tortured and unrestrained Bell Witch album. Sandwiched between Mirror Reaper and Longing, I personally think it's the most open that they've ever sounded. Production-wise, I think it's the weird middle ground, the ugly stepchild, in a way, of the minimalism and eeriness of Longing and the atmospherically drenched Mirror Reaper. And there's something kind of cool about that. And if you have complaints about their sound sounding a little bit too muddy later or before, this might be the perfect record for you. The audibility in my eyes is the best that it's ever been on a Bell Witch record up until this point. The riffs drone in and out and they just fade so crisply to the ears. Each chord is honed in on like a laser, emphasized and real. Even interlude bits of sort of these scant chords are monumental and just downright sorrowful. For Four Phantoms, it's the full body experience that we've come to know and expect from them. At this point in their discography, they were progressively leading us through the dark and depressive, like, hellscapes of the mind. The instrumentals are definitely the key to this record. I suppose the only thing bad about a really audible mix is for Four Phantoms, the vocals are very loud. Like, the loudest they've ever been. And that counts the demo. It can be very loud at points, the loudest that they've ever gotten. They certainly pack in the atmosphere, I don't want to say they don't, but at this point in their career, they were also seeking out heaviness and the importance of heaviness, which for Bell Witch is just kind of unheard of, even now. But it's a wonderful addition to their discography and just really great. Alright, number 2, I have Longing, which it might be weird to see Longing ahead of Four Phantoms, but hear me out. I think this is Bell Witch at their creepiest, at their most ominous, at their most eerie, and I think there's just something really fucking cool about that. Compared to everything else they've dropped, these dirges, I'll call them dirges, are like morbid. The vocals just ring out like some caved creature just trapped in chains. It's not too heavy and distorted, but it's not too like meticulously atmospheric. It's just very raw. And it's very primitive. It's just unbridled, vivid, low, dense funeral doom metal. And it's just like not really touched up. It kind of makes my skin crawl when I listen to it more than any other Bell Witch record too, even Mirror Reaper. There's sort of this endearing quality about a band that sort of sounds like immature in a way performing funeral doom metal, and I use that term as like a describer. I'm not saying that in like the bad way. This released not too long after their demo, so they were still a very fresh band. They were still finding themselves, in other words, but Longing set the stage for their dark sound. It's dispirited, it's catastrophic. This feels like Cataclysm. It's the end of the world as you're standing there and seeing like a meteor falling from the skies. You can do nothing to stop it, and you know your life's about to be extinguished. As slow as it is, it's urgent and it feels foreboding. It's creepy, yeah, but the sadness factor just invokes such a feeling to it. It's like holding hands at just the edge of infinity. Sitting at the foot of calamity, just swaying back and forth. As I said, it's raw, it's primitive, the second most besides the demo in terms of that, but maybe even more so because they started to touch it up a bit, but still sounded very raw. Dread is just creeping up and wrapping its claws around your neck. The balance is just great on this record, I don't know what to say. And then, at number 1, did anyone expect anything else? I'm probably gonna make a whole video essay about this record. Mirror Reaper. Losing Adrian fueled this record like no other Bell Witch record can ever be fueled. Death is such an important thing for music, and when you lose someone in your band, it's going to fuel that. And when you already have a very sad sounding band with a very despondent tone to it, you can't not have something just all-encompassing. This album art's iconic now. It's one of the most critically praised records from the metal sphere in the 2010s. And for such an idiosyncratic genre as funeral doom metal is, and so particular and very specific to a certain audience, this was so applicable to so many people. You can't help but listen to this and feel the chords, feel the vibrations, feel the movement and the sorrow that you can't get unless it's genuine, unless it's real. And I'm not going to say other funeral doom metal bands fail to do that, or fail to bring together a sound that's genuine. I absolutely know that they care about their craft. But there's a difference between caring about your craft and living and breathing a sound as a result of such a harrowing loss. This is a massive record, and I think it's going to be near impossible, if not impossible, for Bell Witch to ever come out with something that can top the emotional magnitude that Mirror Reaper has. Every time I listen to it, it puts me in a mind state, it puts me in a feeling, and it reminds me of so many things at once. It's so easy to attach feelings and dread and unhappiness and negativity and anything bad that might be happening in your life to this music because it's so applicable to so many people. Mirror Reaper just can't be topped. It's a beautiful record. It is such a long experience, but it goes by in a flash because it's just so much of a full body experience. I know I said that earlier about one of the records, but it really lives up to that here. It's intoxicating, it's captivating, and if you can't tell by my serious tone, it just is a immaculate record that deserves to be listened to, and I think will mean a lot to people that haven't heard it, and I just continue to go back to it, and it's one of the proudest records in my collection. But obviously, with any worst to best episode, I turn it around to you guys to hear what is your favorite Bell Witch record, what Bell Witch record do you think is underrated, overrated, and what would you like to see from the future from them? I can't wait to hear it, so definitely let me know down in the comment section below. And who would you like to see covered next, either from this genre or just from another genre? What bands would you like to see covered in this series? Be sure to let me know that as well. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is J Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.